All right, let's start looking at the formulas in order to turn latitude, longitude into MGRS. Here's a list of all the coefficients we're going to be using. A lot of them don't make a lot of sense other than this is the radius in meters out to the equator, and this is the radius in meters out to the pole. There, you can see that the polar radius is a little bit smaller than the equatorial radius. They're a little bit different because the Earth is not a perfect sphere. It's an ellipse. These other coefficients are coefficients smart people have come up with to talk about the shape of the Earth. I can't remember what the E stands for, but then that's the square of that and some other things. But we're going to look at the formula for converting. Here's all the formulas over here. There's a lot of them. But I'm going to go over the ones that I used, which are here. So let's just start off with a latitude and a longitude. It doesn't matter what we start with. These formulas will convert into MGRS. The first is which grid zone are we in? We talked about that when we were looking at MGRS and how it's built. So the easting grid zone, we're in 35. The reason being is if we were over by England, 0 degrees to 6 degrees east, that would be grid zone 31. And if you go 6 to 12, that would be grid zone 32. And if you go 12 to 18, that is grid zone 33. And if you go 18 to 24, that's grid zone 34. And then 24 to 30, that's grid zone 35. Well, we're at 28, so you can see that that's grid zone 35. Now, if I changed this to something that's in between there, like if I said, let's say 15.45, that's grid zone 33. So what happens is, to get which grid zone we're in, we take whatever the longitude is at 180 degrees, because that's everything that's on the western hemisphere, and then divide by 6, because 6 degrees for each grid zone, round down to a whole number, and then add 1 to that. So that's how we come up with the grid zone. Now we want the center of the grid zone. The center of the grid zone, if we were going 12 to 18, the center of it would be 15. And then we turn latitude into radians, we turn longitude into radians, the center of the grid zone into radians, and then we start doing cosine, then we start adding in all of those weird coefficients from the other page. We get all of these crazy formulas because the Earth is weirdly shaped. This one is the biggest formula. It goes way out here. That's a big one. You got 8 power there, 8 power there, 6 power. Yeah, that's a big one. And then we get down to this. That's that weird coefficient from the front. 500,000 is the middle of the grid zone. So this becomes what we get for the easting. When we're talking UTM, this is the easting UTM, and the 41822 becomes the piece that's going to turn into the MGRS, the easting part of the MGRS. The northing, the 62 is the 100,000 spot, and then these 5 digits, 98733, that's going to be for the MGRS. Then we take the 5 that's on the front. We take the latitude, the -33, and we take that -33, and that tells us which grid zone we're in as far as letter north and south. Because it's negative, we are south of the equator, so that's why this is a hotel. If I went north of the equator, like if I turn this into a positive, that letter turns into a Sierra. So when we talk about the grid zone letters, that's it from the last video. So -33, that gets us this letter H. And then we look at this 5 that's in the front of the easting. That's 5. And then I can turn that 5 into a W. The grid square northing number, that's a 2. That turns into a Charlie. Those 5 digits came from right there. Those 5 digits came from right there. We take all of the pieces that make up MGRS. We need this guy. Let's turn here. Let's fill that with I don't know, purpley color. So that's the first number, is the 33. The next thing is this H. The next thing is the W. The next is the Charlie. And then these 5 digits and those 5 digits. So those 2 pieces become the easting and the northing for the UTM. That's this. We're in grid zone 33 and we're in the northern hemisphere. The MGRS, we take the 33, the H, the W, the C, these 5 digits, those 5 digits, and that becomes MGRS. So we can do that with any latitude, longitude we want. So if I turned, let's go up here, let's say 45.15, everything adjusts. This becomes a tango, that's a whiskey now, that's a kilo, and there's our MGRS. Okay, so let's stop this video, and we'll talk about the next piece in the next video.